Right, hello and welcome back to the TSN Armada Online. This is our first broadcast of today, our first live broadcast. We did have the Atlantis campaign part 4 just playing in the background. This is our first actual sit down and having to talk broadcast now that we've kind of got ourselves back into the swing of things. I'm Xavier. With me I've got Matthew Vaj, who's going to be helping me with this broadcast. And over the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to be diving into the TSN Sandbox, which I've already got open, and I'm going to be working on creating a new feature to add to it. This is inspired by Raiden's mission that was run recently. However, since watching the Atlantis campaign mission, we've got 3 more ideas to go in there, haven't we? I think there was one on AI and one on hidden minefields that a game master could deploy, so we've got
and that choice. And also the like a mine layer kind of ship system.
Yeah. Yes, a way for a ship to deploy a mine and to deploy a point from which a minefield would then appear. So the planned one that we've got is creating cluster mines, which was inspired by Raiden. It's one of his ideas that came through for one of the missions that recently with the TSN's RP community, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, we were having a situation where we had to defend a system, and we were given cluster mines to place and in strategic places, if I can talk correctly. And well, they ended up being used a bit more as really big mines, but the idea still holds.
So during this broadcast, we're going to get into it proper in a second. We'll be checking the YouTube channel chat, so if you do have any questions, we've got 4 viewers at the minute who are live, and I'm sure people will be viewing afterwards, but if you do have any questions that come up, post them in there. Vaj will be having a look for me, won't you, Vaj? And picking up on them. And as I'm writing the sandbox, I'll be I'm gonna have to do something about this left bar that keeps popping up. As I'm writing the sandbox, I'll be talking through what I'm doing, and I think Vaj is going to be asking me some questions as well. Hopefully not put me off too much, because yesterday it was quite tricky to try and do some coding in the background when I was chatting to Mike.
Yep, I know that feeling.
So I did end up doing a very basic mission script though on that one, which was good, but yeah, it was tricky to kind of keep track. All right, let's get myself set up here. So this is the TSN Sandbox. Now, we've been working on cluster mines, and I'd already started a little bit of work on this. I was gonna take it out and redo it, but I've decided against that. I thought I'd just go straight for it and carry on building what we've got. So let's close these up because I don't need those. And feel free to chat away in the background, Vaj. In fact, Vaj only sees everything on a delay because he's watching the stream as we're going along, I think, don't you?
For the moment, although if you'd read your DMs.
Oh, that's a good idea. I might be able to screen share live with Vaj so we can see. Let's go into the broadcast channel.
And once I'm able to see what he's doing, I'll be able to make more timely comments.
Oh. See if that works. Can you see it now? Can you see my cursor?
1 second here. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, we're all set up. This is the first time doing this, by the way. I have recorded. I did spent hours once recording me actually scripting, and then realised that, you know, every time you right click and you open up these menus, or every time you click on here and it opens up all these big menus with all the variables in, those wouldn't appear. So the whole video, it was like over an hour video, and nothing appeared. Right, so I don't need any of the game master keys, so I'm going to close these down. And I have named this one, so don't panic too much, Vaj. I've named this one as a sandbox demo, so if there's anything in here that I need to redo, or if
So I
there's
won't worry
anything that
about you breaking the sandbox,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's a script that we use fairly commonly, isn't it, in the TSN?
Every week.
Right, so these are the
So what are you looking
comms
for
menus.
here?
So I'm trying to pick up from where I left off. So these currently are the comms control menus, and that's how we were getting the cluster mines being spawned. So it will be like a communication command to the ship systems to spawn it. So
Gotcha.
these, for example, when we're looking at the mission, these are where all the comms channels are set up, and then depending on whether that ship's there or not, if it doesn't exist, it removes that comms channel. So you only get the comms channels for the ships that are actually active. And those are
Clears up clutter a bit.
yeah. So you don't end up with 8 comms channels constantly active. That then only like 2 of them are used. So let's have a look. We've got these are big menus opening up, I think. Here we go.
So you've already got the buttons to actually trigger the mines to drop. Is that right?
I think I was last time I was setting up those buttons. Yeah, when I started on this, or I'd started setting them up for ship 1. Let's have a look. Specialist. Here we go. That's where I got to. So in here we've got cluster mines, and I've deliberately put it in a separate folder called specialist so that I could add extra things into it. So for example, a mine layer specialist button, and enabling a mine layer. So here we've got the actual deployment orders. So we've got comms button pressed, cluster deploy, and that will set up a generic mesh. It just sets it up in a corner out of the way. So if I go onto the space map, I'll have to drag it across here. So you can see that generic mesh currently just spawns up in that corner. So when the comms officer on
we're not
ship
seeing
1,
we're not seeing the map right now. Looks like Discord's only taking the actual editor.
all right, okay. So on
display.
the lucky ones on the live stream will actually see the map.
Oh, okay,
So yeah, because I've dragged it across the Discord. I've just set to the sandbox. Oh, that's interesting. So if you are watching on the live stream, you're getting a view that Vaj can't see. But we've got cluster CL01, so it's going to be cluster mine point 1. And I thought CL for the name of the specialist point, and then 01 being ship 1. So I'm going to close that, and then that spawns in the top right hand corner, and then obviously a step to the next point, which gets the data from where it needs to be and sets it to a position. So mine position X and mine position Z. So this,
and Y, of course, is the vertical position.
Yeah, so X
which
is your
default
top,
to 0, right?
left and right, and Z is your up and down. So I don't want to get those properties from CL01. I want to actually get them from player ship 1. So, because I need to copy and paste all this code 8 times into 8 ships, I'm going to use a little bit of a trick with this one. I'm not going to call it player slot 0. I'm going to just put in brackets player slot, and you'll see it says it's never set. That's because it's just like a placeholder, so that when I copy and paste, I can do a find and replace and just do a player slot. I might also change this. Well, in fact, no, this ship 1 stuff I'll be able to change using the find and replace. Just saves time when I'm duplicating it for all the other ships.
Yeah, with 8 ships, we're really doing stuff like this. That a little bit of time saving adds up.
So what will happen is I'll go into the find and replace tool. So in here, and I'll be selecting, I don't know if you can see it, Vaj, but they will be able to see it on the screen. There's this find and replace, and I'll be putting in player slot, and then I'll just be changing it for player slot 0 and only doing it in selected node. And then what that will do is that will replace that statement player slot in brackets, and it will put in 0 instead, so it's really quick and easy for me to be able to duplicate all this code. Right, so CL mine position X, CL mine position Y, those are the variables that are named from getting those object properties. And then spawning the actual object property, we've got activate cluster, so that will give ships the time to be able to move away from it, and they can click activate cluster and it will activate that cluster. I just need to decide radius of 5,008 mines. What does that look like? I wonder if I can, I can't edit that on the map. So that should allow them. Now what I need to do is I need to go and check this comms cluster deploy and this comms button activate cluster are actually in the menus. So shuttle, ship 1 main menu, I've got cargo, shuttle operations, resupply operations, so I need a new menu button here. So I'm going to copy that and paste that. I'm going to change it to specialist operations. Okay, with that button there, I need to make sure that I clear that off every time it cycles through. So you can see I've got clear commands here, so I'm going to put that in there.
So while we're on this clear commands topic, Neil asks, how do you get the comms menu to reappear in case someone else goes back to the role selection screen or gets booted?
So that's a tricky one, that one actually, because you can have, I could set up a refresh that would refresh the menu every so often, so if somebody gets disconnected and reconnects, then it'll refresh. But what we do in the TSN is there's so many people who take a comms screen, so like the captain's got a comms screen, the all the other ships have got at least one person on with a comms screen, and what we do is we just communicate between us and just say, all right, could you just cycle the comms screen, and somebody usually has it and just cycles it really quickly. So it's a little bit of a cheat, to be honest. There's nothing in the code that will cycle it for us. So we've got shuttle status, supply update, let me see. Inventory status report, and then I think I've got another cycle menu here. Shuttle operations, resupply operations. I'm going to add a new comment in to separate these up, make it a little bit easier to navigate through. Okay. Oh, I've done it twice. So this is like the clear all of them. Any comms buttons that come up, this will clear them off.
Okay. So that'll bring it back to the main, channel 1, channel 2, channel 3 menu.
Yeah, and it's I've called it cycle comms menu, so it will cycle the whole thing. And if I was to write a refresh button in there, it would use this, so it would reference cycle comms menu. It'd set it to 1, and it would refresh it if I added that in. That's pretty cool that we've got 10 viewers at the minute. I'm quite impressed with that. All right, so it will set it up here, and I need in here a new event. If I can move it around, things seem to be a little bit slow at the minute. And I'm gonna see, I'm using other stuff as templates at the minute. So in the shuttle operations here, let me see. In fact, is the resupply a better example? Oh no, it needs to be up here, that's why. So we've got the resupply menu. This is what happens when you select resupply. I'm going to use all these, and I'm going to create a comms menu. So ship select equals 1, comms control equals 4. This is going to be ship 1 specialist menu. And then comms, so this is, what did I call it? Specialist ops, wasn't it? Comms button press.
Yeah.
There's lots of flicking backwards and forwards as you do these. And I prefer to copy and paste names so that I don't make mistakes in like just typing errors. That's one of the biggest things that causes bugs, is typing errors. So comms button 4, comms button 4. So you can see here, if you're on ship 1, which is selected through the main menu system, and comms control is 4, so like the 4th process in this menu system, you've got specialist operations is pressed. I want all this code here, and I'm going to just modify this code. It's a good thing with the Sandbox being so much writing gone into the Sandbox.
There's so much to pull from.
Yes, yeah, I can just redo bits. Right, so I don't want that one, and I don't want the supply update.
So could you elaborate a little bit on what the comms controls variable stands for?
So it's like if I go back here, so you can see there's a variable comms control 1. It basically operates all of these controls. It's a variable that steps through so that it separates up the actions within it. So comms control is 1 there. In the start block, I think it's in the start block. No, it's not in the start block. It's in, oops, what did I do there? It's in the activation menu. So none of the comms buttons appear until this event is actioned. And none of the comms controls will work until this event is actioned. So in the start block, I don't have the variable in the start block, and I don't have any comms buttons appear in the start block. In the Sandbox, all the ships have to spawn in individually, and if you spawn in after the mission script has started, then you won't get whatever's in the start block if there's a button set up there. So instead, what I've got, I think it's here in the run Sandbox. So once the game master's finished setting everything up, and it's ready to run, and the game master clicks right, that's it, run it, then it activates this variable comms controls. By that point, all the ships should be spawned in already, because the game master can step through this and take as long as they need for every ship to be spawned in and set up. And then when they click this, it activates, it sets the comms controls, and it brings up this menu for all players. So it's a buffer to stop the players not getting those controls.
I see.
Yeah. Right, okay, so, and then after that, it's used as a check for where you are in the menu system, so that you don't end up with the menus kind of overlapping each other. So like that cycle menu, but like comms control is 4. If it's on 4 and you press the button back, then it resets it back to 1, and it will reset it here.
Okay.
Well, it sets cycle comms menu actions, then it resets it back to 1, and then it brings you all the way back. So it's a way of being able to go back and forth through these different events. Right, where was I up to? I was creating the menu, wasn't I? So
sorry to distract you there.
It's fine. So we're in specialist menu. Specialist operations is clicked. I don't actually think I need all those clear channel buttons, because you won't be in any of those channels, but I suppose it's there in case another ship joins and one of those channels pops up.
Neil's asking, so any triggering of a button on any comm screen will trigger all comm screens to refresh their menus? Does that work only if the entire menu is refreshed, or with any button pressed?
I'm not sure if I follow that. Triggering of a button on any comm screen will trigger all comm screens to refresh their menu. In the game, if you the comm screen is shared between all of the clients, if that's what you mean, and if a comms officer is using one comm screen, then it will be seen on the other comm screen. I wonder if I can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a game window open and running so that you can see as well how I'm testing these. So, specialist menu. So that might then answer the question posed by Neil. Time we're on. Wow, time's going quick. Set comms menu 1 on player side, yep. So to signify what it is, set back. And then what I need is this one, cluster deploy. So where are we going? Specialist menu. So new action. Takes a few minutes. I think it's because so much is running on my computer at the minute. It's taking a couple of minutes to be able to process it. And in the background here, I can deploy. Turn the game sound down. Oh, no, I can't because it needs to be called demo. Cluster deploy there. Actually, I might want to put a step in so that depending on whether you've deployed your clusters, whether that appears or not. See, this is where it starts getting complicated.
Because it wasn't already.
Because it wasn't already.
Coming from me as someone who doesn't do much scripting.
So, yeah, this is the tricky bit. So, so we're gonna have an event that's cluster ready to deploy, and then I think I'll have another one that's cluster ready to activate. And then maybe another one that says cluster used, so that you've only got one cluster mine drop. That'll limit it to not just doing echo runs like I know the Horizon crew might end up doing. Right, okay, cluster used, okay. So back up here, instead of that, I'm going to cut that out and I'll put it in the ready to deploy. Then I'm going to have a ready to activate. So I'll take that and put it there. And then take that and put it in the cluster used, because I want to clear it if it's already been used. Clear that one. Then I want the activate cluster. This is where we're having to think up on the fly. There was a way to be able to have it set just comms buttons coming up to a certain ship with using this side, but you'd have to have an extra step in where the ship switched to like side 10, it set the button, then switch back to side the player side 2, and I didn't like the idea of the ship flickering backwards and forwards every time the comms menu was activated. So I went with the compromise of having all comms officers having to see the comms menu being used. Right, so if activate clusters is on, I want to clear that comms button. I don't want the cluster deploy on there. And if cluster deploy is on, I want to clear the activate button because I don't want that one on there. And if the cluster used is on, I want to clear both of the buttons. Oh, I only need that one. So that you can't do any of them. And then these comms buttons then link into this because you'll be able to deploy it there. Ship 1 cluster mine to 1. Cluster mine to 3. So if ship 1 cluster mine is 3, then you'll be able to activate it. I need some more variables in here so that that button is added and removed. Let me see how I've done this one. Comms control. Comms control needs to be 5 for this to work, so I'll drop that in there. Drop that one in there. And I'll drop that one in there. And I want that to be 5. So this is where I'm using the comms controls. You can see this will only work when that comms control is 5, and comms will only be set to 5 when you've activated the specialist operations menu. So it means that no matter what, these buttons won't appear unless you've got the specialist operations menu open.
I see.
Okay. Comms control is 5. Comms control is 5. And the ship 1 cluster mines is 1. So if the ship 1 cluster mines is 1 and comms control is 5, then set those buttons. But 5 is going to be there. What's this one? 5 is going to be there. So I don't want it setting when the shuttle menu or the resupply operations is selected. So I'm going to need... Go on.
Just to say, this is some pretty interesting stuff, and I hope there's some people out there who are learning from it.
So this is where you've got to try and puzzle it out, so I'm going to have to think a little bit here how I want to do this. So that needs to be 4. So if you've gone through and you've spawned the cluster mines, it'll set this ship 1 cluster mine to 4, which means that it will always clear off the buttons when comms control is 5, so those buttons won't appear. Here, if it equals 3, then it'll say you can activate cluster. If it equals 1, then it'll say that you can deploy the cluster. Now, ship 1 cluster mine equals 1. I think I dropped that in this here. Where are we, general?
So the deploy button will you hit that, and then you hit the activate button after you've moved out of the area. Is that how that's working?
Yeah, so it will give you a buffer between between deploying. So like I want to drop my cluster mines here, so you drop them and then you'll be able to move away. The other option is that the crew press it to deploy it, and then there's a timer before they activate, but there's a potential there of catching the crew in the blast, which when
So
they deploy.
I guess a concern I have is if you hit the deploy button and then someone else on another station hits a button, how does that affect the activation?
Well, it shouldn't do, and that's where I'm trying to separate this up, so it's just going to be ship one select, ship one select. So if I use this ship one select, this is only going to ever happen when ship one select is active, which is only active if ship menu select. So you know in the original menu you've got these channels 1 to 8. When you hit channel 1, it sets the ship select to 1, so that's ship 1. If you hit channel 2, it sets it to 2, 3 to 3. So that way I can say, right, this is only going to work with ship 1.
Okay.
And ship 2. Sorry, ship 1 and ship 1 there, and ship 1 there. So as long as you're in the ship 1 menu. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save that there, and just off screen for a second I'm going to set up so I can test it, and you'll be able to see then how it plays out. So just give me a second here. Sorry about this, I wasn't going to...
Shatton is saying that we should just use timer anyways. Like regular mine, if you get it fast enough, if you go boom.
A timer would work, I think, in the TSN RP community we avoid destroying ships quite a lot, actually, because the ships become a character of their own, so we really do try and avoid destroying ships, and we will figure out ways where we can get around the destruction of a ship. Oh, that's interesting. I don't want that. So by doing this, and not only that, but it's going to give more control for the players, so you could end up dropping a string of 8 of these points if you're working together in a team, and then activate them all at the same time, so it'll be a really good effect. So start server here. Okay, scripted game.
So all of the cluster mines would wait to activate until
that's
the button is hit. Is that?
Hang on a second. We've got a lot of noise. I need to turn the sound down on that. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's so loud. If you're listening to the stream right now, I am sorry about the sound. I don't know why it's gone so loud all of a sudden. Okay, so that's cut the sound off. That was really annoying. I don't know why it went so loud. Let me...
Artemis volume settings for you.
Yeah, let me try again for a second. It might go really loud again, so I suggest turning down for about 30 seconds. In fact, I think I might be able to do it in my sound settings here. There we go. There we go. I've turned it off. All right. Okay. Here's
Excellent.
my Artemis testing screen. Here's my demo vision backup. And where's my Artemis test screen gone now? There it is. All right. So the GM would have to activate the sandbox. So I usually just click through it quickly like that. And then here's comms button, so you can see only channel 1 is spawned. But I'm actually quite deaf now because of that sound. It's really loud. So channel 1, and clicking channel 1, we don't have the menu popped up, so I'm going to have to look at that first to get those menus sorted. So create comms menu. You select channel 1, and then we've got specialist menu here. Comms control equals 4. So why is that specialist? Oh, comms button pressed. Specialist operations. Select channel 1. Main menu. Specialist operations should pop up there. The rest do. Why does this not? Channel 1 menu. Channel 1 menu. Vaj can't currently see this, by the way.
Nope.
So we're
I'll be able to see it on the stream with the rest of you. With a few seconds delay.
Yeah. Sandbox demo. Am I in the right server screen? I know why. I was connected to the wrong server.
Whoops. Game
Master, comms, main screen, ready.
Oh, you're connected to the one that I'm doing testing on.
Yes. That's what you get with having the codes come through automatically. Right, so comms. Master, I just need to wait for the master to pop up. There we go. Activate GM, Upper Arc, Atlantis. I wonder, you know, it should have registered that. Right, now if we go into comms, we can see channel 1. If I click on channel 1, there we go, specialist operations. So I click back and it clears specialist operations off. Good. So specialist operations, and nothing has popped up. So channel 1, back. Alright, so let's go back to the mission script. So specialist operations. So this is another part of it, is where you've got to constantly go back and check your work as you go in. So specialist operations is clicked, channel 1, clear all those. That's why, because I deliberately set it so it was back. So I need, that sets control to 5. What I want is, see here, I've got resupply check. So actually I'm going to use that, and I'm going to call it, let's go new action, and I'll call it specialist ops check. And I'm going to use that to check these buttons down here to see which button it is that I want to deploy. So specialist operations check to 1. And then I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it here. Yeah. Just paste it in there, and then paste it in there. So when it happens, it's going to switch to 2. So specialist operations check to 2, and 2 in here, and 2 in here, and then I need a condition up here, specialist operations check equals 1.
We're down to about 8 minutes left for this particular broadcast.
So you, you can see how long it takes.
Yeah.
I mean, I spend like, I can spend a good afternoon doing this easily, hours and hours and hours.
I believe it.
Because once I've done this, obviously I need to set up ship 2 all the way through to ship 5. This is the major part of the legwork, try to figure it out of how it's all going to go, and then setting it up for the others is just a matter of copy and pasting and replacing ship 1 with ship 2 and checking they work. So now we've got specialist ops check, specialist ops check. So if I restart the mission script and go back in here,
Neil is asking, can you edit the live edit the XML, or do you have to restart the server every time you edit?
I don't have to restart the server, I just have to restart the mission script. So every time I save the mission script, oh, I don't want that. Every time I save the mission script, I have to end the mission and restart the mission, and it will update the mission script in Artemis. So like you saw there, I saved it and then I just ended the server and restarted. So comms, channel 1, specialist operations. It's not popped up. Right, okay, why is it not popped up? Did I save it? That's why. So like,
so just to clarify that last question real quick, when you every time you start a mission script, it loads it from the file location.
yes.
Okay.
So like here, I'll show you what I'm doing on the server. So this is the server. It's running the mission script where the comms button wasn't working. So all I have to do is go end, and then I'm going to restart, and it reloads what I've just saved. So there's it's reloaded there. I can get, that, and then I can just refresh that, rather than having to restart the server all the time. I think that's a good tip to know. You don't have to restart the server every single time. You just have to restart the mission script in the server.
That's a lot of save time.
Oh, a significant amount, yeah. Right, okay, so comms, channel 1, specialist operations, back. It's still not done it. Okay, so when specialist operations is clicked, we do specialist operations check to 1. If it's at 1, and the ship 1 cluster mine is at 1, do I have the ship 1 cluster mine set up? So ship 1 cluster mine. So this is where I might not have that variable setting. Let's have a look. Cluster ready to deploy. Yeah, okay, so ship 1 cluster mine is not set at the start of the mission. So I'm going to copy that one, and I'm going to go into ship status. Let's close that for a second. Status on activation. So I'm going to have it so something else I wanted was being able to allow certain ships to have cluster mines while not all of them had them. So here, additional trackers, max stars. If I paste there, I hope I hit paste there. There we go.
Now, will that be something that the GM can set?
Eventually, yeah, I could tie it in so that the GM sets whether ships got cluster mines or not. I could do that, but for now I'm just going to put it in ship 1 active, cluster mine to 1. So if ship 1 is on and it spawns, these are all the things where this is for tracking the amount of homings and things. That's used for the resupply stuff. This is for tracking what it currently is. So this is the maximum it's allowed. This is what it's currently allowed. That's why if somebody loads up and fires a nuclear torpedo at the beginning of the script before the game master's finished setting it up, Horizon, and then find they can't restock with nuclear torpedoes that they fired off for a laugh at the start, Horizon, you can't get them back when their grunt reloads you, Horizon. I'm not saying that any ship does that on a regular basis, but no, I'm only kidding. There's one or two weapons officers that like to load ordnance and fire it off just for a little bit of fun before the mission starts. and then wonder why that can't get reloaded from auxiliary ships. Right, so when that ship activates, that should now set it. So that was the variable that I was missing. So I'm going to go back so you can see actually what I'm doing with the server screen and the game screen for testing. So there's my game screen. Oh, there's my server screen again. Don't want that one. Want this. How much time have we got left?
A minute and a half.
So, end that simulation, end game. We did start 15 minutes late.
That's true, yeah.
I am mindful that I am meant to be running the races. So I can just restart there, refresh that there, and then this is the laborious bit, having to go through all this. I'm not picking any particular sector to run for when I'm testing this, because it should work in any sector, but it does mean that a few clicks to go through. So now when I click specialist operations, still not working. Why is it still not working? There must be something else that I'm missing. Bug fixing. This is what it's all about. I want to get that button working, because as soon as I've got that button working, we're going to be sorted. Ship one.
While Xavier figures that out, yes, we do have the third race event as our next event. I believe Xavier will be in race control for that one. Raiden isn't able to be here for that. Looks like we'll be maybe starting a couple minutes late with that, but
we've got a lot of people on waiting for it now.
After the race ends, we'll have an hour break or so, and then we'll have another live broadcast on mission scripting. Oh, yep, that's yesterday. No, it'll be the Tom Robertson live broadcast, so y'all are going to want to make sure you come for that. We've got a lot of questions lined up for Tom to talk about.
I sent them on to him actually, and I said, is there any that you don't think you could answer or don't want to answer? And he said, no, they're all good.
Excellent.
The full hour is going
through
a lot of
people looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So that's at 1800 UTC, 1300 Central, and 1900 BST.
Still not appearing. Right, okay, so there is something there that I need to check out. Specialist ops check.
Maybe we can get back to this another time and record it so people can kind of see what you're doing, though.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the process that I'm going through. A little bit embarrassing that I wasn't able to get that sorted.
Well, we've determined, it takes time.
Yeah, I think what I will probably end up doing is this ship one cluster mine, putting in the start block instead, so that it activates. So I could drop it in here. You can see I've got like test variables. It puts it right at the top, so I can check the variables. I'll tell you what, I'm going to very, very quickly do that and see if that resolves my problem. And I'll show the way that I can check the test variables. So by putting it right up in the start block in the test variables, I can track whether it's on or off using this screen and cycling through for F7. So that's interesting, it's not updated yet. Show select operation type. Interesting. Right, okay, we'll have to have a look at that. Where's my test variables gone? Where's my script gone? Ship 1 cluster mine to 1. That should be right up the top there. Why is it not showing it?
I've never seen those variables show up. F7's like you said to show that?
Yeah, you cycle through that through F7, so you can cycle through variables, timers.
That's a very useful useful thing to know about.
It's almost like this is not saving in the correct place, which is probably the problem. So I'm there trying to test this. Right, okay. Now it's
You
going to
really need
work.
to be wrapping up here, Xavier, though.
There we go. It's step through to 3. All right, okay. We're going to wrap up there. The reason why that wasn't working, I've just realized, is because the sandbox that I was working on there wasn't actually saving in the right folder, so I wasn't able to test it. But you can see that's the kind of process that I go through with creating and testing the sandbox. I might try and do another live broadcasting a little bit with it if people want to watch that one. To see if I can resolve this problem, the ongoing saga of the TSN Sandbox. And like I say, I saved it as a demo version just in case it mucked up. Right, I am going to head off and get the races sorted. Thank you for watching. I hope it was interesting. And if you are interested in me doing more things like that, when I'm coding, I could jump on and just do a couple of live broadcasts when I'm actually doing the proper coding, as it were, when I'm just sat on my own doing it and there's no time pressure.
If you're interested in watching those kinds of streams, let us know in the comments, and we'll see about making that happen.
All right then. See you in a few minutes for our next broadcast, a race broadcast.
All right, thank you guys and ladies.